All right, hey, thanks for stopping by again for another FAQ episode. I've gotten some feedback on the other ones before, and I super appreciate that. I don't care if I'm getting 2 views off of it. If you guys are liking it and you're liking the content, just keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it until the wheels fall off, and we'll just go from there. I got a suggestion. I'm gonna try to address this topic in a generalized statement of how we do things, and not necessarily what we feel is I mean, we feel that it's right in the way that we train people, but I also don't want it to be the end all be all, or to deter from maybe how another trainer or another coach does something. So the question was basically, can you run a conjugate system on a beginner? And I want to kind of bring that around, and I want to kind of say, how do we do it? Okay, because we have a lot of different levels athletes in our gym, and we have a lot that aren't powerlifters per se. They're sports athletes, or they're just more general fitness. They're just looking to lose weight or live healthy, or wherever the case is. So we do run a conjugate system in our gym, and the conjugate system in itself can be very, very complicated, and it can be very, very simple. And it's different depending on who's using it, who's running it, and basically what their style is, you know what I mean? So we've, I feel that we've done pretty well with adapting it to more group style training, to where the members that come in our gym don't train in an open gym format. It's a private gym. So when they come in here, they're given a plan, they're given coaching, they have training partners that they train with at certain times in the day, and they're kind of regulated in what they do, and that preserves the private gym atmosphere that we have. So there isn't just anyone coming in doing what they want. It can kind of really solidify our community, which is really important to us, and the intensity that we have in here. So how we do it. Okay, so how we take in a member. There's a couple ways, and it's really based on assessment. So when someone comes in, if you have any type of strength coach or trainer, the assessment is key. The assessment is going to tell us, it starts in the very beginning when they're given a paperwork, waivers, and questionnaires. And what we're looking for in there is we're trying to find a history, whether it's a medical history of previous injuries, or even what their experience is with training in general. A lot of people, I mean, you could be 40 years old and it could be your first year of training. Just because you've been in this world for 40 years doesn't mean that I'm gonna approach you the same as maybe a 20-year-old that's been training for 5 years. So your training age is definitely took into consideration. So when we bring in a new member and they're looking at signing up, we have an intake process. So when they come in, they're assessed in the beginning, and we're gonna assess them on general mobility, athleticism. We're gonna look at previous injuries, which is gonna determine the routes that we take and how quick we go there. And then we put them through the system. So basically, when they're coming in, we're gonna determine whether they're gonna be a baseline athlete. And baseline athletes are very, very much beginners. And what we do is we take 4 weeks with them. Generally, we take 4 weeks with them, and we put them through training that is short in duration, it's high in intensity, and it's very, very simple. We don't put any barbell work on them in the beginning. We deal with a lot of body weight movements, unilateral movements. We work on stuff that's going to challenge their athleticism and their mobility, and we're going to keep the sessions around 30 to 40 minutes, sometimes even less. Because when we're getting something in the beginning, like I've said before, showing up is half the battle. We want them to show up every day in the gym. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make that workout challenging, but we want it short in the beginning so that they get in here and they develop a habit of actually showing to the gym first. Once they develop that habit and we start sneaking in some accessories that we feel are gonna hit certain points, we start introducing them to the reverse hyper with body weight to keep them nice and strict. We start looking at that lower back and starting to introduce the stimulus to try to get our prehab work into them. We look at getting them to squat. We try to fix biomechanics to make sure that they're actually squatting with proper muscle groups. We look at unilateral movements like lunges and step-ups, and we're looking for imbalances, left, right side, dominant legs, and we're trying to either get them away from the injury zone or to keep them furthest away from it if they're not. So they do this for about 4 weeks, and we really stray away from the barbell. We're not doing any bench press, squat, or deadlift, but we are in a sense still doing the movement patterns. So they're still gonna be doing hinging patterns, to where maybe it might be as simple as picking up a kettlebell off the ground in a deadlift, teaching them how to keep that neutral spine, following through with their hips. We're definitely gonna get them on some kettlebell swings. We want to see if the hips are actually opening like they should. Most members that we get coming in the beginning, they have a very, very hard time opening their hips. So that's something that we want to correct right off the bat. We look at mobility. We start introducing them to our controlled articular rotations, our mobility program that we run Tuesdays and Thursdays. We start teaching them the importance of that, educating them on recovery. And for those 4 weeks, you know, they're still dealing with pressing movements, overhead, horizontal style pressing. And we're trying to get them really, really used to just moving weight and challenging their bodies. And after that 4 weeks, if we feel that they're ready, we'll move them to the barbell work. And when they come over to the barbell work, now if they aren't ready, and we also demand that these members are coming in and they're showing up every day. We don't want 4 weeks and your attendance is showing 8 days. We don't want that at all. So we bring them in, attendance is good, 4 weeks goes by, we're seeing some massive improvements in things that were showing weaknesses before, and we're starting to feel comfortable with putting them under a barbell. So then they start integrating into the group training. Once they're in there, we usually stick around with getting them the barbell movements to begin with. We teach them how to squat, bench, and deadlift. We put priority in movement. We never give up posture to reach position. We really push them on making sure that their body awareness is good and where their body is moving. And then we do that as much as we can before we start pushing the heavy weight. Once they get further on into that and they're learning the fundamentals of the actual lifts and how to squat and how to hinge correctly, as well as pressing, we start moving to the variations. They start working in. So if it's like a banded bench press, we'll start looking at, does that member have enough strength to press the barbell with bands and maybe a little bit of weight after that. If they don't, then we stick them with the barbell weight. We want to preserve their mentality as well. And then we start dealing with 5 rep maxes. We start getting them used to working with heavy 5s and heavy 3s before we give them 1s. And that could go on for 4 weeks. So usually that 8 weeks, we're gonna see how quickly they catch on to the system. And then once they're ready, we'll put them in the program full bore. That's not to say that there aren't gonna be modifications along the way. We deal with plyometrics, and with some of our more seasoned members, we have more advanced plyometrics. And some of our members are, when they first start off, they're having difficulty getting over or not getting over, but being more used to jumping as an adult, because I think sometimes we forget that our feet don't leave the ground enough unless we're in some type of danger, or we got to jump a fence or something like that. So we get them used to jumping before we put them towards the advancing. So everything has a scale to it. Everything can be modified and it can be dropped down. So we run them on that system for a bit, and then when they're good with that, then we put them into our conjugate system that's adapted for Black Sheep Barbell. And our system is not like Westside. Nothing is like Westside. Westside can only be Westside. Our system is what works for Black Sheep Barbell, and it has worked for us for almost 3 years and has given us really, really good results. And we really push the emphasis that we want our members to be athletes, and we push them to be athletes first. We want them to move really, really well. And if we could get them to move well, then they could adapt well to the other demands in their life or the sport that they're trying to improve at. So making them an adaptable human being is the priority. And basically everything is along the way. I wish I could say it was as simple as like, hey, here it is written down, but a lot of times it ends up changing. Good strength coaches are more problem solvers than they are actually facilitators. So facilitators are really good at administering programs that are written on paper and saying that this is what you do, but anyone that's been in this for a little bit understands that any plan is great until you get punched in the face. So basically, you could write the most solid program in the world, but if a member walks in and they're not able to do what you prescribed, you got to give them something else to maybe get them progressed towards it, or to not promote further injury in what they may have. So it's all about untying knots and being a problem solver. So that's what's unique about our facility is that you can have 10 people in the room and they could be following the program on a monitor, but they could be all doing very, very different variations of the same thing, yet we're still working as a group with the same purpose in mind. So when we take a beginner, that's usually how the process goes if it's good. Now, there are some cases where some members have kind of done some damage to themselves, and maybe not through any fault of their own, to where they might be on the baseline program for a lot longer.